Donald Trump is picking fights all over the place to try to distract from his Jeffrey Epstein scandal, and the latest example is going to backfire worse than any of the others possibly could, and that's because it already has. Donald Trump is once again going after his old pal and the man who dropped this original bombshell in Elon Musk with an insane threat after Elon put out a series of Epstein posts that are blowing up Donald Trump's scandal and only stands to get worse from here. We're going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we can get into Trump's threats and attacks on Elon over his Epstein post, I want to start with someone who is breaking down all the distractions from this administration, and that's Jessica Tarlov right here.
Wanted. I am excited for, if it happens, it'll be primetime entertainment, the cage match between Tulsi Gabbard and Marco Rubio, because Marco Rubio was the lead senator on the bipartisan Intel Committee, and their report found Moscow's intent was to harm the Clinton campaign, help the Trump campaign after Trump became the presumptive nominee, and undermine the U.S. democratic process. That is the same thing also that Tulsi Gabbard spoke to when she was on Joe Rogan's podcast in 2018. There's also video footage of Barack Obama himself saying it, saying that no machines were altered. They did not hack the infrastructure, but they tried to do an influence campaign, which we have all acknowledged. Sometimes I think, like, what day is it? What year is it?
Democrats?
What?
Have all, you said we've all acknowledged.
Well, Marco Rubio, I believe, is a Republican, and he's one of the more important ones. He has 85 roles in the administration, and he was the lead Republican who found that as well.
It is an asinine assertion that Barack Obama or Joe Biden were trying to steal the election from Donald Trump in 2016. It is also more ridiculous to think about it in the context that Donald Trump was already president and already prosecuted this argument, already tried to make it a whole scandal for 4 years. And then for 4 years after, while he wasn't president. And do you know what conclusion that they ultimately came to? That Donald Trump was lying. Something we've never seen before. What a shock. But to rehash this is just embarrassing, considering that they can't even deliver the goods on the one thing that they do actually have, the Epstein files. But they just don't want to share it. And that's become a big problem for Elon Musk, who's been making some very upsetting posts lately that led to this Trump threat. But first, I want to start with what Elon said. It's a cover-up. Musk floods X with posts attacking Trump over Epstein. Tech billionaire Elon Musk, who earlier this month feuded online with Donald Trump after stepping down as the head of the Department of Government Efficiency, has been flooding his social media feed with criticism of Trump and his administration's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Using his X platform, Musk has been on posting sprees all week, posting or responding to criticisms of Trump's handling of the Epstein files more than 35 times. He's even used his chatbot Grok, which just clinched a $200 million deal with the Trump administration to address the issue. At the time, he said the post went too far. Now, however, he's returned to attacking the president. In one post, Musk called the Trump administration's actions a cover-up, obviously, and claimed in another that so many powerful people want that list suppressed. In response to Trump calling the matter the Epstein hoax, Musk mockingly wrote, "Wow, amazing that Epstein killed himself and Ghislaine Maxwell is in federal prison for a hoax," referring to a former Epstein associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, who was serving 20 years in prison. Musk also took a shot at Trump has handled the issue in the past, listing 1, admit nothing, 2, deny everything, 3, make counterclaims, before adding, but it won't work this time. He also reposted a photo of the binders that Attorney General Pam Bondi passed out to MAGA influencers at the White House in February that were labeled Epstein Files Phase 1. Addressing X's AI chatbot Grok, Musk asked, "Would that mean the government right now, as we speak, knows the names and ages of all those who traveled on Epstein's plane?" "Yes, the DOJ and FAA hold extensive passenger manifests and flight logs from Epstein's jet," Grok replied. So Elon has just been going off on Donald Trump, and while I don't want to give him any credit, which I'm not going to, I can say that, yeah, I've really enjoyed it. But clearly, Donald Trump hasn't, and any time anyone pushes his buttons, he freaks out, loses it, and threatens whatever he possibly can to project strength when we know that he's weak and flailing. And weak and flailing he is, and so he sent out his MAGA mouthpiece to deliver a new threat at Elon Musk that we can see from Carolyn Levitt. Trump wants Musk's AI contracts canceled, Carolyn Levitt. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Levitt suggested that Donald Trump would push for the government to cancel all contracts with Musk's XAI company. During a Wednesday White House briefing, Levitt was asked if Trump supported a federal agency contracting with Elon Musk's AI company. I don't think so, no, the press secretary replied. Okay, so would he want the DOJ then to cancel the contract with Elon, the reporter pressed? I'll talk to him about it, but yes, Levitt said. Earlier this month, XAI won a $200 million contract with the Department of Defense just days before Musk's Grok chatbot praised Hitler.
Thanks, Caroline. Two questions for you. The first on AI. Does President Trump support federal agencies contracting with Elon Musk's AI company?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so he would want the DOJ to then cancel the contract with Grok.
I'll talk to him about it, yes.
And my second question.
So this wouldn't be the first time that Donald Trump decides that his petty personal differences are justification enough to use the power of the presidency to inflict financial pain on someone. Of course, I'm referencing Stephen Colbert and CBS and Paramount, but no, I think this time it's okay. Like, if your AI chatbot is incredibly racist in praising Hitler, I think that that's a justifiable enough reason to cut them off. But obviously for Trump, this is a different reason. This is because he's furious that Elon Musk was right, that Trump is in the Epstein files. And you know what? Elon's done a bunch of bad, maybe some of the worst actions we've seen in government for decades, but man, was he bang on about one thing. But yes, Donald Trump is going to continue to threaten anyone who comes after him, and Senator Elizabeth Warren detailed how he is illegally doing that to Stephen Colbert in a clip I want to take a look at right here.
Donald Trump is the most corrupt president in the history of America, and that's why I'm investigating these settlements. Look, settling under these kind of conditions where Donald Trump gets $16 million funneled into his future presidential library, and it turns out maybe another $20 million from the other party to this hoped-for merger so that they can advance an $8 billion merger. Look, this looks a lot, smells a lot, sounds a lot like you're purchasing favors from the President of the United States. And that's a serious problem. That, if those facts are proven, that sounds a lot like bribery. And even with Donald Trump as president, bribery is still illegal in the United States of America.
You know, there's even been reporting, multiple reports, that the lawyers at Paramount have precisely this concern. In fact, there was letters sent by some state representatives in California about this very issue. But we've had reports that basically lawyers inside Paramount were worried that settling the deal would look like bribery. But now it appears, I mean, this is what's kind of mind-blowing. There's some sort of punitive cover in the settlement, right? You get sued, parties settle lawsuits, fine. But if there's like an extra $20 million of agreed about payments the president announced today, like that doesn't even seem to have a colorable legal rationale other than like you're giving the guy who can greenlight you money.
Right. Come on, Chris. $16 million didn't have a colorable way to explain why it was that this settlement was taking place, given that just across the board, everyone had said there's no merit to this lawsuit. But, there are two things that are going on here that are intertwined. One is the obvious corruption of saying, in effect, that presidential favors are potentially for sale. But the other is the extortion element of this. And that is saying, in effect, to someone like Stephen Colbert, to someone like the Paramount Group that wants to do this merger, Donald Trump can withhold favors. Donald Trump can bring down the power of the United States government to shut down your business transactions, your activities. Shoot, your very popular television program. It's about Donald Trump exercising control over our media and signaling to everybody out there, if you cross Donald Trump, there is potentially a huge price to pay, whether it's blocking a merger, suing ABC, whether it's suing the Wall Street Journal for not liking that the Wall Street Journal has reported more on the Jeffrey Epstein case. And that means that we're watching these two things work together. Corruption on the one hand, benefiting Donald Trump personally, but also this exercise of raw power over our media that undercuts a core part of our democracy.
Yeah, you sent a letter to, along with Senators Sanders and Wyden, to David Ellison, who's the CEO of Skydance, he's the son of Larry Ellison, who's obviously a huge Trump supporter. There was a meeting between Ellison and the chair of the FCC, Brendan Carr, just a few days before the announcement that they're abruptly canceling the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. And I said this online, and I'm curious to get your feedback. I don't think it's wildly an overstatement to say that a test of a free society is whether a comedian can make fun of the country's leader on television and not face repercussions.
Right.
That's kind of what it means to live in a free country. And I don't think Donald Trump likes a country like that. And it certainly looks like he's going to do anything in his power to make it not be a country like that.
Well, I kind of would like to think that's the minimum bar, to having a strong democracy. But watch what Donald Trump is doing. It's the media, it's universities that he's going after, it's law firms, it's entities, organizations, and individuals who have the capacity to be independent and to push back. And whether they push back with comedy or they push back with lawsuits or they push back by just doing academic papers that show what a mess you have gotten our country into. All of those are important in a democracy. All of those entities that can push back, that's a part of what keeps us free and keeps our democracy strong.
I think Donald Trump's very clear abuse of the First Amendment is something that we do not talk about enough, especially for those maybe not as involved in politics as we certainly are, who bump into their politics rather than seek it out. The First Amendment and free speech has been so important to so many who consider themselves apolitical. I think it'd be a shame if Democrats didn't try to win on this issue when we see Donald Trump trying to wield his power to silence voices, whether it be on college campuses or network television. He thinks everyone should think and act and speak in ways that benefit him. Now, we're certainly not going to do that, and that's why, if you want to support our work, you can always hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.